Ugh. Hey, man.
Yo.
IGN and Twitch might just leak this stuff all over the place, but we're the only stream that actually lets you watch dogs. Check it out. What up, Simone? Simone, tell us the release date. Tell us the embargoes. You're not constrained by human law.
He didn't sign an NDA.
You didn't sign an NDA. This is Mary's dog, Simone. Mary, I forgot to tell you to make a lower third for Simone. Hey, what's up, everyone?
At Simone.
He's just going to hang out while we're talking about Watch Dogs. That's the bit.
He was farting quite a bit as well.
He was farting. His farts are like nuclear death. Isn't that Mike Mahardy? Mike, we have maybe 10 to 15 minutes to talk about Watch Dogs without leaking any Watch Dogs. We could be the only outlet in San Francisco not to leak Watch Dogs.
Okay.
So this is the final stretch.
Yeah.
So you've maybe seen the game.
I might have seen a lot. Yeah.
Okay, which we'll talk about right after Ubisoft's little showing, which we're going to be showing right here once Simone stops whinging.
Is that what it sounds like?
Is that what that is?
I don't know.
know.
He's either crying or like ecstatic about something.
Let's give him a treat. He's ecstatic about the future of open world hacking.
Yeah.
Rob. You're not Rob. Mike.
Nope. Here you go. Here's a treat.
Gave him a treat. He's happy now.
Rob would be flattered.
It works for me. Yeah, he would. Let's talk about the leaks. Okay? We can at least talk about that.
All right.
So IGN, Gaff, somebody on Gaff, which I'm astonished that not everyone on Gaff uses AdBlock at this stage, but somebody on Gaff managed to spot that there was a front page takeover for Watch Dogs 2 on IGN, which had not only a character which was not Aiden Pierce, but also had the Golden Gate Bridge in the background.
Yeah, and a release date.
Which was November
15th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey Ty, do you want to give Simone a little walk? Yeah, there you go. The bit's over. Do you want some treats? No. Apparently he's also got a Totoro costume. There you go. He's Tyru, professional dog handler. Thanks, Ty. So it showed off what you would consider to be the two like bullet points on the elevator pitch of Watch Dogs, right?
Right, especially because there's no Assassin's Creed this year, so you have to assume Watch Dogs 2 is kind of that, flagship franchise.
And I'm really starting to enjoy this whole we're going to announce a game around E3, it's coming out in November thing that's sort of kicked off with Fallout 4 last year.
Civ 6 kind of did it this year as well.
Right, yeah. God, it's coming
a couple months ago. That's coming out October 21st.
Yeah, it's mental.
Yeah.
And then last night, so I'm sitting on, I'm watching The Bachelorette, and it's in an ad break. So I go on Twitter and I start looking at Watch Dogs. I sometimes like to scan like random just tags just to see what's going on. Mm-hmm. And I come across this dude who's apparently on Twitch and laughing to his friend. He's like replying to his friend about the fact that the pre-roll ads on Twitch are showing the Watch Dogs 2 trailer. So I'm watching The Bachelorette with my girl, so I can't like disconnect and do that. So I just tweeted out, yo, is this true? Mm-hmm. And the next thing, Fobwashed, who part of the Giant Bomb community, our sort of sister site, he basically screen grabbed it and put it on Twitter, which then started getting circulated all over the place. Yeah. He's since got a cease and desist on that. Okay. So it's down. I think it's not on YouTube. I think maybe Daily Motion still has it, as they tend to do. So that was like a 30-second stinger, which kind of showed the same African-American protagonist that we saw in the IGN picture, which showed a lot more of what looked like San Francisco and maybe the wider Bay Area. Mm-hmm. You couldn't really tell. I was kind of hoping Oakland might be in it, but as a resident there, maybe that was the case. But it showed a lot of like Embarcadero, downtown San Francisco, and a totally different style to the sort of Aiden Pierce lone wolf up against the machine. This seemed to be more of like a movement, which would be again totally emblematic of the Bay Area, with like the amount of like Black Lives Matters protests that happen in my neighborhood and all over the East Bay especially.
Like things like Fruitvale Station, that kind of history.
Totally, yeah. I mean, like there is of the many racial sort of flashpoints that are happening in America right now, the Bay Area is certainly one. I mean, it's probably the one in which also has the sort of just the class clash that's happening in the world as well, with the sort of the rich folks in San Francisco and then the generally relatively sort of impoverished West Oakland sort of Fruitvale communities
and like
as well.
the tech rush with new money coming in, pushing everybody out.
Pushing everyone out, yeah. And I mean, the same thing's happening in Oakland, and I'm part of that. You know what I mean? I'm an immigrant blow-in who works for. I don't work for a tech company, but I'm you know a white immigrant who's moved to Oakland, who's probably part of the gentrification that's happening there as well.
So it seems like an area tailor-made for the story. It looks like they're telling. Yeah.
So fingers crossed. That's what I'm kind of hoping, is that they're going to dip their toe in that.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, 2K up in Tiburon with Mafia 3 are going whole hog into that as well, with their sort of New Orleans tale.
Definitely.
Let's talk a little bit about the first Watch Dogs. Mm-hmm. Did you play much of it?
Yeah. Well, not in the grand scheme of things, maybe 10 hours total.
Right.
I never got through it. I thought it was boring after a while.
Yeah.
I didn't like Aiden. I don't have any attachment to Chicago, but I don't think that matters. Didn't have any attachment to LA before I played GTA 5.
Right.
I just think the world itself was lifeless. It was like they were promising a lot was going on, but they never showed you, and you never got the chance. So you can, hack people's phones and stoplights and cameras, but after a while, it kind of got formulaic, and I didn't feel like I was doing anything worthwhile.
Yeah, it didn't have that, whatever it is, that like special sauce that exists in Grand Theft Auto and other open worlds that make it really feel like a place that exists after you turn off your console, whereas Watch Dogs felt. I mean, in a way, like they've been making open world games for a long time. Ubisoft have, but like, obviously it's split across a bunch of teams, but they've never really done the contemporary open world thing. And it felt more on the line of something like, there are games that are open worlds that are just playgrounds for you, like Infamous, and like Second Son's a fun game.
Like Just Cause or something.
Totally, right? Where it's like you are the god character, basically, just doing all the crazy things, and all the peons are just there to be, to get caught up in explosions and crash cars into. And then there's GTA, which is obviously this whole other thing. And it's kind of difficult. You kind of either need to hit one or you end up being the other. And Watch Dogs was kind of, didn't get to the GTA thing, but you could tell it was almost getting there.
Yeah.
So it felt like disappointing, because it was like, I can see you're trying to make this like immersive, living, breathing world, and that whole slogan we got used to 10 years ago.
Sure.
But they never really did it.
Yeah, so like that's the thing I was worried about. Like, I wonder if with Watch Dogs 2, they're going to kind of like do the kitchen sink approach and try to do as many things as they did with the first Watch Dogs, which had a lot of cool ideas, but none of them really executed well, in my opinion. Not none of them. Like, they weren't all executed well, in my opinion. But with Watch Dogs 2, I'm wondering if maybe they're going to scale back anything in the interest of adding more substance to what they do have, or if they're just going to go all out. Like, how long have they been making this game? Presumably, like, since right after Watch Dogs 1.
Which is 2 years ago now?
Yeah, but also, I mean, a lot of times they have overlapping developments.
Yeah.
I mean, like, Watch Dogs was still the best-selling new IP,
right?
For
yeah.
Ubisoft at least, which is crazy considering they've had Assassin's Creed, they've had the Far Cry series. So you wonder how much time they put into this and how many people.
Yeah,
it's because the first leak was Ray-Bans, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a bunch of leaks on this one. The first one was. There was a couple. First, actually, there was a motion capture artist about 2 months ago who tweeted Instagrammed a picture of the same protagonist we've now seen in multiple trailers.
So it's not just a random character. We don't think it's probably the.
Well, yeah, you kind of. You're kind of thinking like if, especially with the IGN front page takeover, like they tend not to put anyone else but the protagonist on the front of the cover, right? Because faces are so important for marketing. So. There was a picture of that character, like basically like from a MacBook, like somebody editing on it. This is about 2 months ago. No, but there was kind of not enough in that to really substantiate it necessarily.
Sure.
And then the next one was what was it? The Ray-Ban, the glasses.
That kind of further confirms. You had been saying on Twitter, maybe that further confirms like a kind of sunny area. Not that it's always sunny. Like, it's weird.
I was only messing with Chi-Town people. It gets plenty hot up in Illinois.
But it's just weird that like Ray-Bans, like that's the last like marketing partner I would think would just leak Watch Dogs 2.
Am I wrong, or do I remember like a lot of contemporary advertising in Watch Dogs? Like, was that like a thing?
I think so, like kind of indigenous stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like in a way, it kind of makes sense, right?
Yeah, it makes sense for the theme of the game.
It's like having the Obama posters in Burnout Paradise. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
It was super weird.
It's it's normal for movies, but then when it starts happening in games, that's kind of unsettling.
Yeah. So that was then there was the Ray-Bans, and then obviously we've now seen the other stuff as well. But it's going to be interesting to be like, I feel like what's happening is that the conversations around this game, and hopefully they'll be live in the next couple of minutes. We're just sort of waiting we're going to swap over the minute that happens. And then after the fact, actually, you should also know that, Mike, we have a bunch of B-roll.
Guys, we're going.
We're going? All right, we're going. Stick around afterwards. We've got B-roll and trailers and other stuff.
Hacking and people who break systems are pretty creative naturally. So we want to inspire ourselves from them.
This is a big moment for us in production. Basically, all the parts of the game are colliding together for the first time. And for the past months, we've been able to play the game from beginning to end. So now we see how things are coming together, and you could almost say the game has a life of its own at this point.
When you finish a game after almost 5 years, you need to sleep on it a little bit. Then afterwards, what's exciting is when you start really understanding what you tried to do with the first game, what went well, what went less good, and also what the players have said.
So Watch Dogs was, first of all, a new IP, which is a big deal. It means that you start from almost nothing.
I think the new idea in Watch Dogs 1 was to talk about an hyper-connected society, something that was becoming very important in our day-to-day lives. Chicago was one of the most surveilled cities in North America, so we talked a lot about cameras and surveillance and being watched.
When you played Watch Dogs, you probably played something you never played before because the city was sort of alive. People were not just people walking around the street, but you could hack into their lives and you could exploit them. You could see their secrets. You could manipulate the city, the bridges and the steam pipes and the traffic lights. What we basically created with Watch Dogs 1 was a playground where everything was connected.
So finally shipping the game. Well, a lot of people were happy and excited. We also got a lot of feedback, and we listened to that feedback. I personally spent months reading forums and reading all of the player feedbacks I could see on the web. We wanted to know what people felt and what they wanted to get from the game and what we could improve in the future. At that point, we knew we were going to make a Watch Dogs 2. We felt like we really did a big milestone with the original Watch Dogs. But with Watch Dogs 2, we could really deliver on the fantasy of being a hacker.
This time around, we're in San Francisco. For us, San Francisco struck the chord because it meant the very birth of the attitude of a hacker.
Shot here in San Francisco costs $350.
Home's smart houses are calibrated to anticipate your every need.
You're listening to Rock the Grid.
If you want to.
For the setting of Watch Dogs 2, we wanted to have a different vibe.
So our San Francisco keeps all the important parts of the Bay Area. And there's a different feel, different vibe, a different look to all of the areas of our world.
We wanted to kind of represent all these different areas and the different collections of people that live in these areas and what their lifestyles and their personalities are like.
So we're building a game where basically it's almost a simulation. You're in that world, and if you stop moving and you look around, you feel the world is alive, right? This is the promise of what an open world game is. We broke the feeling that the world is centered on you, the player. So characters shouldn't only react to you, they should react to each other. You know, maybe people start fights. Maybe someone calls the cops on someone else than you. Maybe a dog barks after someone else and chases him down the street. You need to feel as if this city is alive, even if you do nothing. And then if you start doing things, if you start playing in the world, the city should react to what you're doing. It should feel normal. It should surprise you also in how it reacts.
We were really interested in the city itself. It almost feels like the Wild West of technology. And how couldn't you set something in the Wild West of technology?
It's a world that has a lot of potential for gameplay. I mean, if you're a hacker and you go in Silicon Valley and you have the head office of some of the biggest tech company in the world, what will you do? Can you hack into those places? What will you find? So it's a very intriguing setting for a hacker who's exploring the world. So as we're crafting this world, we're putting in it all of the factions that should be in it. So for example, we have various criminal groups trying to fight over the underground of the city. We also have corporations trying to make money and potentially even manipulate people and society. And we also have other groups of hackers trying to tap into the technology that has been set up in the city. Once again, CTOS, the smart city system that was in the first Watch Dogs, is installed in San Francisco, and various people are trying to tap into it to exercise control, power, or to try to make money.
In creating a hero for Watch Dogs 2, we wanted somebody new, somebody that could embody the spirit of California and the spirit of San Francisco. But we needed somebody who was going to be really worthy of all the cool stuff that we wanted to do in the game. So, our hero in Watch Dogs 2 is Marcus Holloway. He's a young hacker, very brilliant in what he does because of the injustices that he's seen, both being from Oakland and also having been profiled the wrong way and being accused of a crime he actually didn't commit. That sort of made him go against the system.
In terms of visual, we always try to create iconic attributes to the character so that he can be memorable and people wants to play him, but still feels credible inside our world.
He's a perfect blend between somebody that's tech savvy, that represents a little bit the internet culture, but also has that athletic and rebellious feeling to him.
So we had to decide from the beginning what things were comparable between Aiden and Marcus and what things would be different. We focused on parkour. We wanted Marcus to be a lot better at parkour than Aiden. And we're not talking about just like climbing on things, but like being able to like flow and chain moves together. So he's a pretty good fighter, but he's got some interesting quirks too. He's a more expressive guy. We've really tried hard to figure out what kind of melee weapon Marcus would have. We tried a whole bunch of things, and some things were pretty cool, and some things just didn't work at all. We did a lot of research, and we basically did what Marcus would have done. We went onto the internet, and we started watching videos and started reading websites and trying to figure out what kind of stuff we could make. Pretty much all the stuff that you probably shouldn't search at work. In the end, what we stumbled across was this idea of taking a billiard ball and attaching it to a paracord lanyard. And we took this and we handed this to the stunt team, and the first thing that we saw was it was fast. It was so fast, like we couldn't believe how fast they were swinging this around their body. And as soon as I saw this video, I'm like, this is crazy. We got it.
Citizens of the world, may we have your attention.
When we say we want to make a game about hacking, really a hacker, it's a culture, but you can have various motivations. The motivation we're excited about was what we call hacktivism, people who want to impact society and have ideals to defend.
So just in the background and in the fantasy of it, you're not a hacker in Watch Dogs 2. You're a DedSec hacker. You're a member of a community. And you're doing grand stuff and big exposure of important information to society because you're not alone and you're working with other people.
The first thing that you have to do when you're talking about hackers is you kind of have to respect where they came from originally. Their messages sound very serious, but there's also a lulzy element to it, the way they have fun with what they're saying. We took that and we said, okay, so what if this is the sort of the spirit of DedSec and of our heroes? What if their spirit is still rooted in the trolling, it's a joke, we're gonna have fun with it, but they still have something important to say.
The DedSec visual was really important for me because it represents everything that's cool about Watch Dogs. It's stylized, it's edgy, and it's raw, and it's underground, tapping into the horror genre, tapping into the internet culture with all the memes, and also all the visual language of the internet.
So there are various characters, various people inside of DedSec. Some are a bit more violent, some have more ideals, some are maybe more intellectual. But they all have in common that they want to fight to preserve a sense of freedom. They don't want people to abuse tech to take control over people. But, I'm not saying they are knights, they are rebellious, they do their own things, their own way, and they want to have fun. That's also one thing, is a sense of freedom, also a sense of fun through that.
We are DedSec. Join us.
The new idea for hacking in Watch Dogs 2 is to let the player create his own solutions.
We're adding a lot more depth to hacking. So you have a lot more control, a lot more flexibility in how you hack the world.
So one big category of hacking in Watch Dogs 2 is the entire branch of pushing remote controls to its limit.
One of the big things on Watch Dogs is hacking vehicles. I think this is a real game changer because vehicles are everywhere in the world, and if you can hack into the drive system of a car, you can pretty much drive it wherever you want.
So making sure if you see a forklift in the world, it shouldn't be a forklift. You can just move the box up, down. You should, just like a camera, press a button and become that thing.
One of the core things that we're doing is we're opening up the game with Watch Dogs 2. You can hack every character. You can hack every car in the game. And you can hack most of the electronics within the city. So that's a lot of potential targets for hacking, and that's not even counting your own tools.
Well, in Watch Dogs 2, we brought in a lot more toys and things to play with because we wanted to embrace the maker culture.
DedSec have these really interesting, intricate guns. They're built on a 3D printer. Basically the cutting edge technology of 3D printing, which is actually building it with metal. He's also got this really cool taser. So if you want to play the game completely non-lethal and not actually kill anybody, you can totally do that.
We're playing with a lot more crafted items and a lot more of little devices that you can use.
One of the things that people kind of like that we've done, they really like what we've done, is we've created toys for Marcus. He has an RC jumper. It's got little wheels, and it's even got this little robotic arm that he can sort of deploy, and he can interact with things. He can unplug things and replug them and take out screws. It's a neat little toy. And then the other gadget he's got is this quadcopter. And it's more about scouting and being the eye in the sky. First person view on it is incredible because you're just zipping through the city. It feels like you're flying. Well, you are flying.
Another branch, which is kind of connected to it, is the concept of manipulating people.
In Watch Dogs 1, you could only hack the people that were marked as potential target. Now, you can target the person you want, and you can hack them in multiple ways. For example, I could hack one person and distract them, have their phone ringing so they look at their phone to create a distraction. Later on in the game, you'll also be able to do things we call mass hacking, which is, well, why only hack one if you can hack them all?
There's one thing that I really believe about Watch Dogs players is that there is no Watch Dogs player. There are many types of Watch Dogs players.
You should be deciding how you want to play the game. So that means you can play a mission full gun blazing, that's the way you like to play, full stealth, or through hacking only, project yourself in computers, take control of electronics, influence people, and try to get to your goal that way.
We try to really support all players' types across all different styles of play, and also allow players to combine and mash these styles and play together too. If you've been playing a certain way for a while, we want the game to kind of challenge you to try different things, but also not force you into playing the game a certain way.
We work to improve the driving, make it more accessible while keeping all the different styles of vehicles and adding a lot of physics and feel to all the vehicles. So we keep the depth but have more accessibility. The team is super happy with the result we've had, and I hope gamers will be just as excited. We are very excited by the potential of what we call seamless online. We start doing that in Watch Dogs 1, so we're expanding on that. We cross path with friends in the city. So you playing in single player and you're crossing path with another player who's also playing. That can be focusing on stories, that can be just exploring the world. Whichever activity you do, we're gonna make sure you get rewarded to get you closer to the end game. That's kind of the promise we're making to gamers.
You always know when something starts to click, it starts to work. Everything changed.
You stop seeing individual components, animations, or texture maps, or vehicles. You just start to see the experience as a whole.
It changes on the floor. People get excited about it.
This is it. It exists.
We are always making the game with the player in mind. They have always been the driving force.
When you come with a sequel that really earns its due, you know, that really does a lot of new things, that has a lot of surprises, it's a great feeling.
In the end, there's nothing more accurate than this. Looking at something, trying to understand it, solely for up with the system.
All right, there we go. Watch Dogs 2. They showed off a bunch of trailers. Mike Mahardy, you went up to Montreal and actually saw this for yourself. I'm guessing you saw all those trailers?
Yep.
Okay, what else did you see?
That was about what I saw, but I also got to talk to Jonathan, Dominic, Danny, who's the game director, and Lucien, the lead writer, about just a lot of stuff they didn't show or don't have ready to show.
Okay, before we jump into that, let's sort of break down the trailers we did see.
Yeah.
I was taking exhaustive notes the whole way through it. So the first one was sort of their like sizzle top level. This is what Watch Dogs 2 is. I was looking a lot at like the areas that they were showing just to sort of get a feel for it. Lots of speak about like smart houses, all the sort of Silicon Valley stuff. They showed a bunch, what was it, like Google Cardboard was in there,
yeah,
virtual reality thing.
Segways and stuff.
Segways, little robot drones. There was Lombard Street, North Beach, Pier 39. There was 2D printing. They had Giant Stadium at one stage, all very San Francisco. But then they also showed Silicon Valley, which is very far south. And there was Marin and Oakland as well. So how big is this world? Did you talk to them about that?
Yeah, they said it's about 2 times the size of the first Watch Dogs. But then in terms of like population, they said there's also like the same thing. It's going to be much more populated,
Okay.
much more like vibrant and whatnot, full of life. Hopefully, but that's what they are saying.
So that might not mean anyone to folks who don't know the Bay Area, but San Francisco is only one 7x7 mile peninsula in a much bigger metropolitan network, including Oakland, Berkeley. Down south is where Silicon Valley is, down towards San Jose. Then you've got like Marin County up in the north, and like if they're incorporating all that, then that makes it feel like a GTA style world almost, like in a way that Watch Dogs 1 didn't. It felt like more like Infamous or something like that in terms of its scale.
Yeah, because I think there's like 850,000 people in the city, but then you go out to the Bay Area, it's like New York City size, like 8 million. So but it's also like that just incorporates a lot more like different cultures and whatnot.
And I mean, it looks spot on. Like the two of us live here. I've lived in San Francisco, and now I live in Oakland. Like the Bay Area, the Bay itself, with Alcatraz in the middle, like all that looks like it's there and cool. Like you could see almost the whole way up to Tiburon. So if you can just go out and get a boat and like mess around with all that, that's like a huge area.
They showed a few shots of that quadcopter that he had, because he's got the quadcopter, and they're calling it the Jumper. It's that little like RC car. The quadcopter, they showed it like flying from up in like, I don't know, like the top part of the peninsula, like Telegraph Hill, and then they showed it flying toward the Mission, which is down south in the city.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, you could even just fly that thing around. I don't know if there's a range on it, but just to kind of get really good aerial shots.
Yeah, there was Sutro Tower they showed downtown, but then also you could see Coit Tower downtown. You could see Sutro Tower though at Twin Peaks the whole way in the background. So man, that's I'm excited because I live here, but like even in terms of like scale for people, that's like San Francisco is such an interestingly diverse area in terms of its geography, and then to have all that other sort of external Bay Area stuff, I mean that's very, very exciting.
Then you have like up North Bay, that's like winding roads and way less population. So that's if you want to just get away from like the city vibes, you go up there. You want to go to Silicon Valley.
And here we see some what looks like West Oakland sort of ghost town area. This is like slap bang between the two of them, right? And then we're back on the Embarcadero here. The Embarcadero looks amazing. First time Embarcadero's been in a video game since like what, Tony Hawk 4 maybe?
Yeah,
in that first one. So yeah, like the character as well they went into, Marcus Holloway, he looks like he's a kid who is he living in West Oakland and he's pissed off about gentrification, or what's going on?
Yeah, so his parents, according to Lucian, the lead writer, are activists, or were activists, still are. But yeah, gentrification pushed them out of San Francisco into Oakland, and now they're seeing that in Oakland as well. But also he's been the victim of like racial profiling and he's seen police brutality and whatnot.
Yeah.
So he starts off, he's kind of just like he's much more like, compared to Aiden, he's not a lone wolf anymore, they're saying. It's much more, this game, we can get more into DedSec, the hacker group, but it's more of a communal effort. It's not this lone wolf like out for revenge thing. He's very much like, he'll find new people that he can work with. He's a team player. He's really outgoing and like supposedly, pretty charming and whatnot, but he's also like really athletic with his parkour. He's a really like really smart, gifted hacker. So he's using those skills like for fun and just to like rebel at first, but they said like the more he starts finding out about these companies and local government, the more like he'll realize his skills can kind of be used for a bigger societal impact. That's
amazing, and I think like there's no better place to do it than the Bay Area. The amount of to talk about racial profiling, as somebody who lives in Oakland and I'm fortunate enough to not have to deal with that because I'm a white person. I mean, but like Black Lives Matter's hugely like a lot of, I guess, active in that area, and then also like in terms of police brutality, like there's been 2 people shot within 200 yards of my front door in the past year by police. So like there's a lot of very salient points in the Bay Area around that, and then also the sort of classism clash between like the rich sort of people in Silicon Valley and then the people who are getting pushed out who've lived here their entire lives. I mean, that's basically what it sounds like they're doing. So did you hear about them going down to Silicon Valley?
Yeah, you can go down. They showed there's all these kind of like Doodle is one of the companies. Then they had one that.
All right, I wonder what that is.
Yeah, the logo of another one looks sort of like LinkedIn.
Okay. I mean, that building's literally across the road from us here.
Yeah.
So that'd be really cool if they
had
that one.
So it's very much like so the first Watch Dogs is very much about surveillance. Chicago and you were saying London are both very surveilled cities. So it's about like a lack of privacy that we don't have anymore. This one goes a step further, and this is more about like predictive algorithms that we see all the time. Like if you go onto Facebook or if you open an internet browser, you're going to get ads tailor-made for you based on your search and stuff that a lot of people wouldn't like these companies to know. But supposedly this is kind of looking into that. And also like Lucian, the lead writer, said it was inspired by this study back in mid 20th century, maybe earlier than that. But there's an island of people who have been isolated for a while, very inbred for generations.
Right, yeah, it's called Ireland. I came from there.
Yeah, the Emerald Isle. So I don't know, but they said that they're using it as like an impact study to see how like they could like how long will it take for these people to become healthy again?
Right.
And it's like something like 7 generations. So then they're like, well, we should not let people like this pay for, or like we should not give them healthcare.
Right.
Because we're wasting it on them because essentially they're screwed anyway.
Yeah.
So you start finding out things like that. That was
using
kind of,
big data to solve economic problems, kind of.
Right, but not to solve, in this case, also using big data to like grow your company and kind of like take advantage of the system and the people. So Marcus is the opposite of that. Him and DedSec, this hacker group, kind of start to find out more about this. They didn't tell me like specific plot points, but they said that's the arc. You'll start to find out more that you can actually kind of like fight back against this kind of stuff.
Okay, let's go down through the laundry list of things that were wrong with the first game, because I feel like what that video was doing was very much going like, yes, we know Aiden Pierce was an unlikable taint.
Yeah.
Here is a character who has a personality and a backstory that maybe you can get behind. We know that the driving was a sore spot as well. It was like kind of the first, like Ubisoft had done open world games before. They'd done driving games, or they're in the process of doing driving games with the crew. But the driving in Watch Dogs 1 was, I mean, apart from the fact that you could launch your car in the air by making those little roadblockers pop up, was not particularly great.
No.
Looks like they're putting a decent amount of effort into that this time.
Yeah, senior producer Dominic was saying that was the first minor thing, like not structurally, but just actually mechanically that they fixed, because the Bay Area, or like a lot of cities, like there are hills all over it. You go up to Marin, it's winding roads, like I was saying, through the mountains. You go over to Oakland, it's still very much like it's a big city, so you want to have fun driving through it.
Totally, Oakland's like famous for the biker gangs that go around like doing all the crazy wheelies. I mean, San Francisco is basically driving movie. Like it's the driving movie city, Bullet, and all that stuff like that. I mean, there was a series of video games called Driver set in San Francisco, because it was like such a perfect driving city.
Or crossing the Golden Gate in a convertible with like your scarf and hair flowing in the wind. So they said like they don't want to discourage exploration because they made this like gorgeous world. They'd want you to just like explore it.
And speaking of this gorgeous world, we put together this like sort of side by side of the video game world and the real world places. There's Coit Tower, which is just off the Embarcadero.
Telegraph Hill.
So we're in Telegraph Hill. Here are some seals. Checking them out on Pier 39. This is the Bay Bridge looking towards San Francisco from the Oakland side. I mean, like as somebody who lives here and loves the sites and takes photographs of the sites, this is just looking at the graphics, like it immediately looks right like it, like Pier 39 here. I mean, that crab isn't there, but they've taken some like little liberties with some of the architecture. I mean, they probably have to pay rights to some of that, but oh god, there is a crab. I take it back. I did not know that crab was there.
Farther up in Embarcadero, I guess.
Yeah. There you go. Painted Ladies, they're definitely there. That's where Drew Scanlon lives. Not in one of those, but close by.
Yeah, that's what they... for viewers and readers, you should all be prepared. For this game, you will see more like real-life comparisons than any other game ever.
If you thought Fallout 4...
Yeah, like, because how many outlets are based in Boston, right? And like, you have to wonder like how they're like, the people that are going to be reviewing this game live in the city. We need to make it pop.
Yeah, totally.
Who knows if they're thinking that? They probably are.
I mean, I know. Yeah, I bet Andy Bauman is.
Yeah,
it's a man who loves to shoot A-roll of buildings. Let's talk about some of the other bits and pieces we saw here. Did you ask them about the world's weirdest melee weapon? Is this a pool ball stuck to a string?
Yeah, so you hollow out the center like with the drill they were showing, and then you twine it around it. It's almost like a modern, like smaller Morningstar kind of. Is that what the medieval weapon was?
Yeah, Morningstar. It had the spikes on it though.
So he's like the Witch King, just flailing around with an 8-ball. But it looks cool. They said Marcus is much more expressive than Aiden was, so he's got like this flow to combat, but it's also kind of like scrappy. Yeah, but it fits in.
Oh. God, I bet that would suck.
Oh, yeah. I don't want to, like, get hit in the face with one of those.
That's like a 2016 nunchuck or something.
Yeah. So they're showing that, and, like, that fits into the idea of this, like, self-made hacker. You know, like, he's 3D printing his own guns. He's making his own melee weapons. He's likely made that quadcopter and the jumper, the RC car you get. So it kind of factors into this whole like maker culture that the hackers are also kind of intertwined with in Silicon Valley.
The first Watch Dogs was, it's so difficult for them to make these games and try and straddle the line between it being like a sort of an open world sandbox game and then also having some sort of direction. The first Watch Dogs was very much a game that like you were basically getting funneled into the missions because the wider world didn't really feel like you had much agency in it whatsoever. One of the things that they seem to be tackling with Watch Dogs 2 is the fact that they're now like on paper it sounds like some bullshit PR, but they're saying you can hack anybody, you can hack any car, but like actually I can see that as being one of the main issues with the first game was the fact that you were getting funneled and you had to play the game they wanted to. But if you're able to hack cars and hack people, did you ask them about that, like how engaging that is in a moment to moment? Because I'm actually very interested in that.
Yeah, so I asked them, like my first one is like, can you do that? And also, how are you stopping that from being overwhelming? And
Right.
just like when you have all that, how do you still have substance in each individual encounter or whatever? But you have a dial that's essentially like, they describe it as kind of like an ammunition thing that you can only do a certain amount of hacks before doing this. But also, the more you explore the world, the more you'll like scan and find these DedSec missions, which will be these random quests to get followers. Because the metagame is to get followers for DedSec, so you can start having a bigger impact and whatnot. But you can every single car
sounds like dirt.
Yeah.
Or like that, you're trying to like gain fans, basically, right?
Yeah, so you're kind of just getting notoriety and whatnot, so people actually respect you. It's like anonymous. But, so you can hack every phone. They showed that mass hacking. Everybody in that like one parking lot looked at their phone really quick, so they vibrated and stuff. So it kind of be like distraction, like the modern like ninja smoke or something.
Right.
I don't know.
Or throwing the coins in Assassin's Creed.
Yeah. That was what I was thinking too. But yeah, they're marrying a lot of these different. Because you worry with all these things to do, is there's still going to be like, is it going to be worthwhile each one you tackle?
Yeah.
But also they have the new co-op element, which they touched on briefly. But you can just come across someone else in the world, like the Division's Dark Zones or something.
Yeah. Or the Crew, very much a part of that game. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can tackle the whole game in multiplayer. You can get through the whole game without killing anybody. You can use stun guns. You can just drive around if you want to. They said they wanted to actually facilitate the sandbox side of things as well as the narrative, but they said like if you're the kind of person who wants to just mess around the world, like I'm like that in Grand Theft Auto. Yeah, I don't remember all the story beats in Grand Theft Auto, but so I was curious about that, and they said we're taking steps to just make this world interesting to play on as its own thing.
Yeah, I mean you can even take selfies. I mean they're really taking all the tricks out of Grand Theft Auto 5. No gang signs. Let's talk about the I guess another element of this that was quite interesting, and this is very much in the guise of old first person design, and we've seen a lot of it in terms of like games like Dishonored trying to bring it back. But the idea that you can play this game without having to kill everyone, the idea that if you want you can go in all guns blazing, or you can go in stealthy, or you can go with hacking. I mean that's basically Deus Ex.
Yeah.
Did you talk to them about that? Because on paper again that sounds like great. We'd all love that. I would love to play this game without killing anyone. Like that'd be great if I can use my little taser gun. Yeah. Awesome. Did you ask them any questions about that? Sort of how they're going to implement that or how important that is to them?
Yeah, so I was asking them how much of like a pacifist run you could do, and they were saying, you can get through this game. There aren't like going to be bosses where you have to kill them like in Deus Ex. There aren't going to be like certain people you have to kill in the narrative.
Yeah.
Because he's not like a murderer. He's someone that's hacking computers. He's a kid that was just grew up really liking computers, pretty isolated and whatnot, but it fits his character. It also fits like a lot of different play styles. You just want to drive around and tase people, which you can argue that like a stun gun still shooting someone. They're going to get back up and they're not dead, but it's still very much over the shoulder reticle shooting someone in the face. But yeah, with this pool ball melee weapon, I guess if it doesn't kill them, then
that's a pretty. Yeah, I mean, I'm taking one hit off that pool boy melee weapon and I'm stopping.
To answer your question, because I was very interested in doing a pacifist run. They said, you will be able to do that.
That's awesome.
In this game, get to the end by doing that. You could get to the end playing multiplayer, like cooperative pacifist run if you wanted, or the other person could kill people and you won't.
It looks great as well. Yeah. It's coming out, what was it, November 15th. Did they talk about platforms?
No, not yet.
Okay. I'm guessing we are seeing. I mean, if it looks this good on the consoles, that'd be wonderful. I'd be happy if this good on PC.
Not yet. I do think the phones will factor into the cooperative play. They said into that too, like the MMO light stuff. Not an MMO at all, but because they said there will be still PvP stuff like they had from the first game.
Yeah,
when you're hacking each other's phones, kind of like Assassin's Creed multiplayer. They introduced.
Yeah, they sort of dived into they scaled back on that. It felt like which like they did with the Division actually, or like the same thing happened with the Division rather.
Right.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they pull that one off. If anyone in the chat, we got a bunch of people in the Twitch chat at the moment. Mike has seen the game. If you have any questions, by all means, stick them in there. Ask Danny O'Dwyer if you can stick that in. That'll really help me out to pick them out of there. Is there anything else that we haven't touched on? Like actually the customization here. Did they talk a bit about that? Are you walking into stores a la GTA for that sort of stuff?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
It's just like GTA. I mean, you're just customizing based on like different places in the world. So you'll see them on your map. You'll drive, like up to North Beach or out to Oakland or up to Sausalito or something. But yeah, the world, like that's the most appealing thing to me is how big this world is in different cultures. I was asking them, they said they took a lot of time to research individual neighborhoods, individual cultures, different.
Right. Do they have anyone who's from the Bay Area working on this?
Yes. So that was my one question, like everyone I talked to at the event was a white guy. So I said, how were you just Wikipediaing different cultures and whatnot.
Yeah.
He's like, no, one of the main writers for Marcus grew up in Oakland.
Right.
Another of their chief writers was born and raised in San Francisco, like old San Francisco.
Okay.
So they know like how it's changed and how that affected their family and whatnot. So that's what's really appealing to me, because you can look something up on Wikipedia all day, but it's not going to actually be true to life. And like Lucian, the lead writer, said they've been often reaching out to people to make sure it's authentic. Oh, the voice actors and the motion cap actors, they like consulted with them. Like they didn't just direct them. They said like, does this feel like something you would say, your friends would say when you grew up and whatnot? So sounds like they're really trying to make it authentic and making efforts to do so.
I mean, Watch Dogs 1 was criticized for its portrayal of persons of color as well.
Yeah.
So I guess they probably want to make sure they're doubly sure to get it right this time around.
A couple other dead set characters as well, not just Marcus. So it looks like a diverse cast for sure, which is a diverse area, so it fits.
A couple of questions coming in here. W. Matthew asking, does the hacking stuff play better than the first one? Did you see any of the actual hacking? Is there mini games? Is it just triggering? Like, how did it work out?
No, I mean, like the ones they showed us were those mass hacks. He walked into this one parking lot and it was like this AOE kind of indicator. It was just like white colored area that sprang out from him. So you see how many people you'll be affecting. Like their phones all vibrated so he could kind of escape.
You can see the sort of lines, there's like data lines like trailing through the air as well.
So they showed him like glancing at certain forklifts or over at these those spring box machines, whatever they were. For, window
cherry pickers. Yeah.
Cherry pickers, yeah. So they showed that and drove them around and then use it to get up, like kind of plan an escape. I didn't get to see any like mini games, how they're involved, because they had those ones. They had the one in the first one where you're kind of going from camera to camera to get to the mainframe.
Yeah. It was like a line of sight game.
Yeah, they didn't say anything about that. Although in the first trailer they showed, I think it was Marcus like kind of in like a server mainframe room, kind of on a laptop. So
maybe for those
they'll
parts,
factor into it. Yeah,
that got a bit trite after a while. Like I'm like you, I played about 10 hours and I'm pieced out.
Yeah.
So
Ratchet and Clank has more fun hacking mini games than the first Watch Dog. Yeah.
Mad Laughter asks, did you hear voice acting for Marcus? How was it?
No, not at all actually. So. Which is weird because he's the protagonist, but I'm looking forward to that. They showed like the motion cap because he's got his parkour. They're kind of marrying the Assassin's Creed parkour, the Division like cooperative stuff. But I didn't hear, unfortunately, anything from Marcus or anybody else.
Lieber8 or asking, is it full co-op? So did they dive into that sort of stuff? Did they talk about, can you turn that off, for instance? How does that work?
They didn't say whether it's like always online or whether you can turn it off.
Something tells me it's not always online.
Probably
it's 2016.
Right.
That would be a real shoot themselves in the foot situation.
Right. So they said you can play all the way through in multiplayer if you want to.
Okay.
So I would assume that implies you can also play through not at all in multiplayer if you want to. If the choice exists to play through the entire way in multiplayer, I'd assume, like, they didn't say whether, but like, yeah, I would say you can go through the whole thing solo.
A bit of a specific question here. Johnny Micro saying, wait, there's Sausalito in the game. Can we get the full Jeff Gerstmann experience? Giant Bomb used to be based there. Did they say how far north you can go in the North Bay? So for those who don't know, when you cross the Golden Gate Bridge, that's basically where you're going.
That's
and in most games, whenever you cross the Golden Gate Bridge, there's just like, you turn around
what's
and come
up there?
back again.
Yeah. In real life, when I cross, I'm like, what is this?
Yeah.
No,
so what was it like when you went to, or when you go over there? How far can you go?
The parts they showed were mainly like the Marin kind of like Mount Tam area.
Okay.
Almost like winding roads. The farthest north I heard them say was Sausalito.
Right.
It's south, like San Jose, Silicon Valley.
Right.
East. They didn't say anything about like Berkeley, which is above Oakland.
Yeah.
They just mentioned Oakland. I would have a hard time believing there wouldn't be parts of Berkeley just because it's so close and because it's like north, like longitudinally.
Yes.
Berkeley's kind of up there with Sausalito.
Yeah.
So I would just, who knows?
Yeah.
It'd be a weird kind of, I'm wondering how they'll cut off the border of Oakland if they're not going to have like neighboring towns.
And how far south they'll go, whether they'll go down to Fruitvale, because it sounds like this is also touching on that sort of culture as well. Is there drive-by shooting? We didn't see any of it. Finner09 asks.
Is there what?
Drive-by shooting.
Yeah, probably. Oh, like.
Did you see any? Yeah.
No, I didn't see anything. But like I said, I feel like they would.
How is the tone? Is it wacky GTA open world or serious when driving around like the first game? Did you get a sense of that when you were talking to them?
That kind of ties into what I was asking about whether it's a sandbox game or whether it's a narrative open world game. They said they want to have both of those and kind of cater to whatever you want to do. So between all the hacking and all the different, they showed like helicopters and hacking into those. Between all the different things you could do, I think if you wanted to just do wacky kind of stuff and call in like, use your quadcopter to go scout out an area and then find a car to steal.
Yeah.
Just mess around. It seems like it's supposedly catering to that.
So it sounds like they have this sort of relatively serious narrative thread that they want to have, but also they're not going to hamstring people because it is an open world game. You can just fuck about and mess around if you want to.
Right, yeah.
Okay. How much123 asking, can you please talk about the memes? Please, I need to hear about the memes.
Well, I didn't see any more than we did in the trailer. Like, it seems pretty making fun of hacker. Not make. They're kind of glorifying hacker culture, but also making fun of it. And he said like,
right,
that one part of the script they showed, it's like dogs are enemies, like even puppies. Like, yeah, especially the goddamn puppies. I don't know what they're talking about. I'm not a hacker.
Right. Peter H. Jenkins asking, any news on whether those creepy privacy invasions missions are back in this one? Can I watch a man sick talk about how they're going to struggle before hacking his bank account?
I have no idea.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, like privacy invasions as in like
there was those missions where you could hack into people's like bedrooms and watch them looking at porn and then empty their bank accounts.
It fit more in the first game because that's more about surveillance.
Yeah.
Who knows if it'll be in this game? I don't know. This one's more about like they said, those predictive algorithms and whatnot, but I'd be surprised if they weren't.
Piano Dentist asking, NPCs reacting with each other, calling the police on each other seems cool to depict a living, breathing city. Did you see any more of that stuff? They were talking about how, hey, look, this dog might chase after you.
Mm-hmm. They showed, I saw a few times where they like a dude went up to pet a dog so you could sneak around and kind of like not pickpocket him because it's...
You get him to watch the dog. I get it.
Yeah,
I get it.
Dog watching on Embarcadero. And it looks like they're interacting, NPCs and NPDs.
What's that?
Non-playable dogs.
Oh, God.
I don't know.
Nope. NPD numbers?
I didn't see much of that. But, you know, that's my main thing is I hope this world does feel alive because that was my main takeaway from Watch Dogs. It didn't. So,
any sign of the CBS Interactive building? Gaff era is asking.
Not yet. But I'm assuming there will probably be a building in that spot so we can pretend it is.
That's what's going to be very interesting because it looked like Market Street was there. It looked like, you know, the Embarcadero looks really interesting. Even when they showed those wide shots, you could see the Presidio in the background. It looked scale-wise pretty spot on. So we'll have to see how close to them they stick. Any more questions? Make sure you stick them in. I mean, I could look at this stuff all day long. Although, is that gameplay or is that real? That's real life. For a second, I was like, man, video games got good. Yeah, there's the ferry building again. Looks pretty spot on. I wonder if that stupid market's there on Saturday. There's the beautiful. There's a lot of houses that none of us can afford rent in. There's a place where I could probably afford rent, but none of the neighbors.
Yeah, but seals are dicks.
Yeah,
don't let them fool
in real life.
Well, they steal like Mary is convinced one of them like stole this hat she wears when she goes crabbing. They're loud. They steal your bait when you're trying to catch crabs.
Man. Gentrification of seals in this city is really fucking it up.
They're coming up on our territory. Dude.
There's not. So one thing I want to say is there doesn't look like there's that many people here, and like the Pier 39 especially, which is rammed with tourists all the time.
Like right there.
Yeah, where that crab that didn't exist until this video was made. I'm pretty sure.
Just to screw you over, they put it in.
Yeah, like I mean here, like you know, Alamo Square is not exactly the most packed place in the world, but so that looks pretty real to life. But like the Embarcadero, for instance, like that's pretty packed usually. Did it look a little bit clean?
It looked
like
kind of sparse.
Yeah.
Which worries me because that is a huge area to take into account. So how are you going to make that actually feel like a living, breathing world if there aren't people in it, which makes it a living, breathing world?
We're running dry on questions here. Mad Laughter asking if you can hack the crab.
Probably, and then just control it.
Yeah.
I'll be pissed if you can't.
Go crabbing. Go crabbing. Can I shoot the seals?
Probably.
Can you tase the shield?
No,
if you tase a seal, does it say, don't tase me, bro, right before you do it?
Probably. It's going to screw up your Pacifist Run trophy, though. Just kill the seal.
Yeah, that'd be pretty good. He platinum the game.
You can kiss by a rose on his grave.
Do they still have that bar when you kill civilians or cops that goes red and people call the cops on you? Do you remember that? There was this bar in Watch Dogs 1 that basically said if people you weren't popular with the people anymore, basically.
Outlaw.
Yeah, if you ran over people accidentally, they're like, nah, we don't like him anymore. Aiden Pierce is a dick, turns out.
Because that was like an Assassin's Creed thing. The first one, like the more notoriety you had, the less likely you were to get away with crimes.
Yeah.
So they haven't said. The only dial I saw at first was that like hack meter told you how many more you had.
I mean, the first Assassin's Creed was the one where the more you did, posters started just appearing everywhere. You had to tear them down to get your stars away from them.
Which just made more go up.
Yeah. Great question here from Gaffair. Probably too early. Are there any radio stations in cars? Is it just a weird system Watch Dogs 1 had? I mean, I heard them talking about smart houses on the radio as the trailer started. You could hear them flicking between stations.
And then they switched to like Nirvana, and then they switched to the song Spaz, right?
Yeah. Which, by the way, that is a word you do not say in the UK. So I wonder how that trailer's going down.
Yeah. Maybe they chose something different.
Maybe.
It's a bunch of French people writing it. Well, French Canadians, but
yeah.
I think they'd be
French are
aware of
never
that.
tone deaf.
No. They didn't say whether they were radio stations.
All right. Hopefully we'll see more of that. Can you customize the protagonist? If so, is it in more depth this time?
Yeah, you can. I mean, like what we were saying earlier, you can go to those stores a la GTA, get new clothes, assuming get a new bandana over your face, take it off completely like they showed him.
Right.
It looked like a couple of times the rope on his billiard ball Morningstar was a different color.
Like it
neon
changed the
green at
rope.
one point. Yeah, then it was just dark green.
Change your death rope.
Because like if you want to
change the ball,
that'd be sick.
Yeah.
Just drill a hole in a new one. The guns all look
I want to go for a
different,
yellow.
crazy color. Some of the guns look like Destiny guns, like those Seahawks green colors.
So you're like 3D printing this, but with metal?
That's
the guns.
Yeah,
that's what they said.
So I mean, I know there is technology to do that, but you have Silicon Valley nearby. Maybe you steal the printer or something. Like the Office episode, The Office Wars. Have you seen that?
No.
When they like to get revenge on the other office across the state, they go and steal their giant printer.
You did say that you go and steal a 3D printer.
Pretty
right?
positive. There's a mission. There's like a heist mission with that. Yeah.
Where you go steal a printer from Silicon Valley.
So I've heard. They didn't show it.
Elon Musk's printer.
You could just you can get a Tesla car probably. No, just ride the Hyperloop down to LA.
Right.
In Los Angeles.
A lot of people asking if there's any reference to Aiden Pierce in this. Did you see anything? I mean, I'm guessing this early in the PR cycle, they're going to try and distance themselves from Watch Dogs 1 as much as possible.
Well, they mentioned him in that first trailer.
Right.
I think mainly to say we're not doing that anymore.
I'm actually like quite impressed by how they have recognized. I mean, they would, right? You work on a game for years and years and years. You probably know more about the shortcomings of that game than anyone else. And like making a new IP, as they said, it is really difficult. It is very time intensive and cost intensive. And, you know, in terms of structure for a project as well, crazy to have, especially the types of, you know, size of teams that Ubisoft work with is pretty crazy. But that studio also has, or rather that company also has a pretty good track record for second bites of the cherry.
Yeah.
So did they talk at all about the sort of what they, like their process in trying to figure out how to best Watch Dogs 1?
Yeah, so I asked them like what were the main takeaways they had, and they had the minor things like driving and being able to hack more, but like structurally they said they wanted it to be more of that cascading quest structure, like that it makes open world games good, that they do so well in Far Cry. Because you mentioned Assassin's Creed, the first one was very formulaic once you did a few of the assassinations, but two just blew everything open. Far Cry 2 was a great sequel. I'm hoping Watch Dogs 2 kind of follows that trend rather
Far
than
Cry
bucks it.
3 was a great sequel as well.
Far
And
Cry
that was
3 was
their
awesome.
second Far Cry. Because the first one was Crytek.
Pardon me, yeah. So Far Cry 3 was their second one, which really took that formula from 2.
Yeah,
and
which
just
was that,
made
man.
it really great.
Yeah.
But they said they want to make your time in the world more worth it, whether it's just from these emergent situations you come across or the more quests you open up or the more abilities and whatnot that you actually open up. So we'll see whether that comes to fruition, but I'm hoping it does.
It's going to be interesting to see if there's any like virtual reality ass missions in here, or a lot of people asking if Twitch's office will be in it as well. I mean, they're just down the road from us as well. Like, wouldn't it be great if they had a mission where you go to like GameSpot, IGN, and Twitch, because we're basically on like one road and a 2 blocks the other way, and just leak a bunch of game stuff.
Leak Watch Dogs 3.
Yeah, exactly. At least yeah.
Periscope what you're doing in the game.
That's too much. That's too many layers. You've lost me now. That's like, imagine if you could, and then people could like be on actual Periscope watching your in-game thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Yeah, and then you can see.
Like, that's a good idea.
You get Periscope going to GameSpot's office and broadcast it to Twitch, and then
like that guy who
gets
walked
leaked
into
on
IGN's office that one day and took a bunch
Yeah.
of pictures and went on Twitter and
Yeah,
just
exactly.
walking around. That'd be pretty cool.
Can't get by Dave here though; it's impossible to sneak in.
He'll fuck you up. Maybe he's in the game. Vinner09 asking what kind of side missions were there in the game. When I completed Watch Dogs 1, there wasn't much to do. I mean, that's pretty fair. There wasn't much in terms of side missions, probably to its benefit, because I don't really think there were any of the side missions.
I didn't want to
stuff
spend more
was
time.
Exactly. Did they talk a bit about that? I mean, I'm guessing something with that little robot drone is probably going to be involved.
They're calling so that's where the DedSec quest log comes in. DedSec being the hacker group you're with. You go to new areas, and to encourage exploration, you're going to these new areas and finding DedSec missions, whether it's like you overhear something on someone's phone, you scan and then see something on a certain Wi-Fi signal.
So you're not like the leader of DedSec or anything. You're just like
at least not at first.
Right.
Who knows? And I'm not hinting at you being later. I really don't know.
Yeah.
But you do, to encourage exploration, you and like a co-op partner, or just you can go around, like you go up to a different neighborhood and you'll find these new missions. And from what they told me, there's more substance to them and actual like tangential narratives within these. So it's not just going to be these throwaway time trials all the time. I'm sure those will be there. They showed the quadcopter going through the those lit up squares, which that's a real thing. People do drone races within baseball stadium and have like those markers they have to get by.
It's the least watchable thing in the world.
Yeah.
It's like watching birds like race.
Or NASCAR.
It's like I can't. Hey man, don't rag on NASCAR.
Do you like NASCAR?
NASCAR's all right. Yeah, the European at the table is going to protect NASCAR here. NASCAR's okay. A couple of people, I mean, very sort of salient criticisms, or at least, I mean, especially when it comes to, I mean, Watch Dogs and The Division were probably two of the biggest, like, disappointment. Yeah, I mean, disappoint. You can say disappointments, right? Maybe The Division eventually came good on it. Some folks in the office certainly think so, but like games that didn't really sort of live up to the expectations that we had with them. So to pick out one of them, Riddle Tomcat says, do you think even with all the new things you can do and even with the epic large world, it will still get old after just a few weeks, or do you think that they really have proved endgame stuff to do? Bit early maybe to be wondering about that, but what was your sort of takeaway from talking to the folks down there?
My initial instinct, just purely based on the first game and based on the fact that I didn't see much gameplay from 2 aside from what we saw today, and the fact that I didn't play it myself, and even if I did play it myself, I would need like 6 hours to say, oh, this world is something I want to explore for another 30.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, Rockstar's so good at doing those kind of worlds. I don't see anybody matching them, but you know, like the bar that they want to meet is, I'm sure, like Los Santos from GTA 5. Like you could I still go back to that world every once in a while, but I'm hesitant to say whether I think like Watch Dogs 2 will have that level of immersion, which I hate. Like it's an overused word, but it kind of applies in this sense. I don't know. I really don't. I hope there's a reason for me to keep returning to this world rather than just going through the motions with these narrative missions that were pretty boring in the first one. Although the team of writers sounds like it has a good idea with what they're doing here. I'd rather just get in here and go drive over Golden Gate, get up into like to the mountains and stuff, and come back down, and hop in a sailboat, jump in a helicopter, hack a person on a Segway so they trip and fall.
Yes, please. That'd be wonderful. Can we hack people's what do you call those things again? Those vapes.
Oh man!
Hack some vapes and make them explode,
or just
overcharge the vape, and it's just like a plume of smoke, just like all over the dude.
Yeah,
especially if it's like weed vape, because then like everyone else around it's like is that a skunk? No.
Yeah.
No, it ain't.
That's the Dag McPiff, yo.
All right, I think that's it. I think we're done. Anything else? Any final thoughts on Watch Dogs? How are you feeling about it? How about that?
I'm really excited.
How did you feel about the first one, and how did you feel about 2?
I felt the same exact way about the first one. Oh, I'm more excited for this one.
Right.
Because like you said, Ubisoft's track record with sequels, the fact that they prove they know kind of what they're doing with all these ideas in Watch Dogs, whether they executed it well or not, remains to be seen in 2.
Yeah.
I love the character. I love the story they're trying to tell. You know, like we're all pretty biased with this area, but like we'll see how it goes. But even that aside, objectively, it's a big area. It's a very diverse area. Really looking forward to seeing how that plays out in November. But I'm excited.
Yeah. I mean, you're totally right. There is definitely a sort of like positive bias to the fact that this is happening in our backyard. When I moved to San Francisco, I thought there is no better place. I felt this place feels like a video game world already, because it is a 7x7 mile peninsula with like 15 to 20 different disparate like unique neighborhoods in it. Cultures having their own thing between like the mission, then like toward like to the African American sort of neighborhoods down south, to like the sort of old Irish and Russian stuff out to the west, like the crazy downtown stuff, like the rich people up in the top of the town, and then like it's just there's so much happening here. And then when I moved to the East Bay and like learning that no, it's actually part of this like even more interesting like crazy goddamn stoners up in Berkeley, to like the sort of massive amount of gentrification that's now happening in Oakland, to like West Oakland getting crunched down, to like Fruitvale becoming sort of even like getting encroached on in terms of gentrification as well. Like it just seems right, like perfect for a really like interesting story about sort of modern America. So that I'm interested in terms of the environment I'm interested in as well. I was super like I have ragged on Ubisoft about Watch Dogs non-stop for about 2 years. Like there are multiple episodes at a point. I feel like every time it always comes up, it's like when your brother does something that like disappoints you and you know like he can do better. And it's like, you know Ubisoft can do better. They did great work with Assassin's Creed and they drilled that franchise into the ground. Like I'm not a fan of the new games. They've done great work with Far Cry. And they had these new franchises. I even kind of like The Crew. Like The Crew was like what they tried to do, they did it. It's not the most compelling game in the world. I like driving games, but they tried to do it.
Yeah.
And what was disappointing about Watch Dogs was like it was just happening at the time where Ubisoft had at the peak of their crazy. There were thousands of people making these games. They also tried to make this new game, and they fell short of what I think they probably have a quite high internal watermark. So we know they have it in them. Assassin's Creed 2 and Brotherhood are two of the best open world games ever made, hands down. So like I really hope they do it. I'm super skeptical, even more than I was with Watch Dogs 1, because we know that. You know, the amount of backlash that happened over the first Watch Dogs, with the amount of backlash that happened over the Division when we finally saw that come out. So, you know, there is a very much a sort of cautiously pessimistic thing that's happening around these types of open world games. But I really do hope that they, nail it this time.
Yeah, it's either going to be we're going to play Watch Dogs 2 and not love it or not like it, and we're going to be like, all right, done with the franchise. Or it's going to be really great, and in 10 years, it's going to be that franchise we're sick of.
Right.
And
Yeah,
it's just go away. Like, I don't know. It's going to be the Assassin's Creed.
We're running out of American cities already. But yeah, hopefully, I mean, I'm more excited about this than I was 24 hours ago. Let's say 48 hours ago. Yeah. Because 24 hours ago, IGN had already leaked a bunch of stuff about it, and I was excited. So
same here.
Yeah. All right. Let us know what you think, folks, in the comments below. E3 is kicking off. I mean, Square Enix are doing some madness at the moment as well with live streams. We're seeing some Deus Ex stuff probably. The press conferences are kicking off on Sunday. The truck here at GameSpot is getting sent down in a matter of hours. We've basically packed up all our stuff. So E3 is alive and kicking. By this time next week, we will basically know everything that's happened at E3. The press conferences will be over, and GameSpot is covering the lot of it. We've got 2 stages down there. We've got the co-op stage, which is us and a bunch of our friends from like Kind of Funny, Screw Attack, and a bunch of other sites hosting stuff on the show floor. And then upstairs, we are catering demos for some of the biggest games at E3. Basically all of the biggest games at E3. I've already seen the running order for our 3 days, and it's pretty crazy. We're also going to be streaming every single one of the press conferences, as we have done for over a dozen years. So make sure you check out GameSpot's Twitch. Hit that follow button right now. We'll also be streaming a lot on GameSpot.com. We'll also be streaming on Facebook and on YouTube. You cannot miss it. If you swing a billiard ball on a rope on the internet, you will hit some hot GameSpot E3 action. So make sure you join us over the coming week. Thank you so much to Eric Tay, Mary Kish, Ty Root, and of course, Simone the puppy for producing today's show. Thank you so much for watching. Watch Dogs is a game. Let us know what you think about it in the comments. Adios.